Well, we missed yesterday's big event. I was doing a wedding. The daughter of one of my best friends, a little girl who I had known since the day she was born. And now she's married. She got married yesterday to another young man who grew up in Danville, and the wedding went well. It was one of those weddings that I felt good about. You thought, well, I do believe this marriage will last. And that was a good feeling. I've done some weddings where I thought to myself, what in the world are you people thinking? But this was not one of them. Been an exciting week. We've had quite the little kerfluffle in Danville this past week. Some teenage boys in our town have adorned their cars with loud mufflers and have been racing up and down the streets of our town, agitating the populace. Sociologists have labeled today's teenagers Generation Z, and judging by their cars, I think the Z stands for Zoom. That's what they've been doing. My neighbor Bill, of the father of the bride whose wedding I attended yesterday, I appreciate that. I walked across the street to sit on his side patio and talk with him about these the wretched depths to which today's youth have sunk. And his wife Karen started laughing. She was overhearing us grouse about this, and she said, "Are you listening to yourselves?" "What do you mean, are we listening to ourselves? What do you mean by that?" She said, "You've become a couple of old geezers. The next thing you know, you'll be yelling at small children to stay off your lawn." And so we had. And now here we are, Bill and I at the age of 61, firmly ensconced in Generation Geezer. This was confirmed last Friday evening when my granddaughter Madeline and I went to the classic car show on our town square. We were looking at the cars when Madeline asked me what year I had been born. And I told her 1961. And she pointed out, with unintended cruelty, that I was older than most of the cars there. Which, while true, was better left unsaid. But the final blow came this past Monday when I had supper with two gentlemen, younger gentlemen in the meeting, and sent them a reminder via text saying, "I'll see you millennials at 6 p.m. at Charbono's." And one of them, I won't say who because I've been talked to about confidentiality, but one of them, okay, it was Treg, texted back and said, "It gets dark early. Let me know if you need a ride." Can you still drive at night? He actually put this in the text. The truth is, even with cataracts, I enjoy aging and the freedom it brings all my life. All my life. Old geezers have been telling me what to do, what to think, what to say, who to vote for, where to go, especially where to go, and what to be, what to do with my life. But since I've become a geezer, their judgment no longer carries the weight it once did. Their opinions are no longer dictates I must follow, but thoughts I can ignore. My last two sermon series on spirituality and then on humanism were, it occurs to me now, my movement away from the religious conventions of musts and shoulds and towards intellectual freedom. And I know that many of us are experiencing that same kind of liberty, no longer believing something just because someone says that we must. I gave a eulogy at a Catholic church a few weeks ago, and I got there early because the priest wanted to meet with me beforehand. And he was giving me instructions before the funeral, directing me to pause as I approached the altar. So when it came time to speak, I walked toward the altar, got ready to bow, and then thought to myself, hold on a minute, I'm a Quaker. I don't bow at altars. So I just walked right up on the altar and gave the eulogy, and guess what? The earth didn't swallow me whole and consume me. It was liberating. I looked over at the priest. He was not a happy man. This isn't to say that I don't bow, just that what I bow to has changed. What I bow to has changed. My allegiances and loyalties have shifted. I've noticed this is happening all around the world these days. The young women of Iran are no longer bowing to despotic thugs disguised as Islamic clerics. Ukrainians are not rolling over and playing dead like Vladimir Putin supposed they would. In our own nation, people are reconsidering the work-life balance and quiet quitting by the millions. Isn't that an interesting word, quiet quitting? When I first heard that word, I thought it meant they were actually quitting their jobs, but that's not it at all. That's not what the term means. Quiet quitting simply means people are reducing the amount of time and effort they devote to their jobs. What we bow to is changing, and it's happening all over the world. This is what aging and maturation do to us. It causes a shift in our priorities and perspectives. When our grandson was born, Joanne said she was going to Alaska for 2 weeks to help our son and daughter-in-law. And I asked her, still in this old mindset, what will you do if your job won't let you? And she said, I'll find a new job. Quiet quitting, a work-life balance. What we bow to changes. The changes that accompany aging have compelled me, as Joanne said, to begin a new sermon series that I'm calling Stuff I Want to Do, a Geezer's Manifesto. In this series, I will describe the change in priorities that often accompany aging. But more than that, I will explore how we might spend the last quarter of our lives. I know there are some here not yet in that quarter, but you will be one day if you are lucky, and it's wise to plan ahead, to have a game plan. So here's the stuff I'll be thinking and speaking about in the weeks ahead, the stuff I want to do, a geezer's manifesto. Incidentally, I found this fascinating while researching the word geezer. You know, typically it's said the geezer is an old man. And so I asked for the female equivalent of geezer, and I'm almost afraid to mention it. Craig's saying, mention it. No, I'm saying she's afraid. The female equivalent of the word geezer was hag, which I am not going to mention, except just now, but no more. No more. So when I say geezer, I mean, I'm not referring to a certain gender. I mean, anyone older than me. And so here's what I want to do in my geezer years. In my geezer years, I want to save less and give more. I don't want to die with gobs of money in the bank getting moldy when human need is so great. Here's how I have it planned. I want to give my last $100 to a hungry kid and then keel over dead. I am a geezer. I don't need a new car, a bigger house, or the latest fashions. I need only the satisfaction of giving what I have gotten. In my geezer years, I want to talk less and listen more, mostly to young people whose voices I have too casually dismissed as uninformed and naive. I will not share my opinion unless asked. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be 100% successful at this. This is my aim. These are my goals, my hopes, my aspirations. I will not share my opinion unless asked, nor presume to think it my duty to correct, to explain, to defend. I am a geezer. It is time to put down my microphone and pick up my ear trumpet. In my geezer years, I will embrace modernity and not condemn it. If I catch my grandchildren listening to their music, I won't scoff and tell them the music was better when I was a kid. When my children and grandchildren buy electric vehicles, I won't regale them about the glories of the internal combustion engine, nor will I rant about the power grid being insufficient to power all of these fancy electric cars. I will trust that minds far brighter than mine will rise to this challenge and conquer it. I am a geezer. The future belongs to my grandchildren, not to me. In my geezer years, I will not complain about taxes. I have been blessed with schools, libraries, roads, museums, safe food and water, protection from crime, fire, and malice. I have been financially assisted in my old age, provided medical care, vaccinations, and wise counsel meant to ensure my well-being. I will not behave as if the blessings I received should come without cost. I am a geezer. The good life isn't cheap, and I will not demand it be. In my geezer years, I will not act as if I know more than everyone else. I will acknowledge that my knowledge is dated. Get this, in 1900, the repository of human knowledge doubled every 100 years. By 1945, it was doubling every 25 years. In 2022, because of artificial intelligence and computers, the repository of human knowledge is doubling every 12 hours. And I got my college degree in 1988, so that tells you where I am and how up to date I am. I will delight when younger people know more than I do. Indeed, I'll give generously to make sure they know more than I do. I think the greatest sin of my generation is our failure to make higher education widespread and affordable. I am a geezer. I will cheerfully give what I must to make sure younger people know more than I do. In my geezer years, I will vote for bright and capable people, no matter their party, race, gender, or religion. I will vote for people I believe to be sincerely committed not just to the betterment of the United States, but the betterment of our world. I will not fall prey to catchy slogans. I will think, reflect, and act with courage, resolving to improve our shared life. I am a geezer. I know better than to be deceived by people who want only my easy vote, but never my committed critique and engagement. This is the start of my geezer manifesto, which I will further define in the weeks ahead. Here's what I'd like you to do as I'm doing this series. I want you, during this series of message, I'm inviting you to write your own geezer manifesto. You can call it your perennial manifesto if you wish. The principles to which you will dedicate your lives, the stuff you want to do before you, in the words of the immortal Kermit the Frog, croak. I have really been enjoying the programs on Thursday night taught by Max Carter. And one of the things he spoke about were Quaker peculiarities in dress and in speech, and how we use those as kind of boundary markers to let people know that we were in this group and that it had a distinct identity. Now we don't do that any longer. We no longer speak plainly. We no longer look like the old-time Quakers used to. But wouldn't it be neat, and wouldn't it be wonderful if our boundary markers were this, that instead of shrinking our lives as we aged, drawing in upon ourselves and our concerns alone, that instead just the opposite happened, that our lives expanded and the scope of our concern widened, not just to embrace us and our kin, but all the world, so that when people looked at us, they could see that we were different, that our lives were wide and expansive and embracing. Let us be that kind of people this week, friends, and not just this week, but until we croak. Turn and greet friends.